Hello everyone, this is Rolandas Mensikovas coming to you live from Stark in Irvine, California. Thank you for voting on our Stark Naked Challenge 2015. I hope you enjoyed seeing transformations, and I hope you can benefit from the gifts we are sending you. In this video, I'll attempt to walk you through the last month of preparation for a photo shoot that one of our competitors went through, and I'll also try to explain how the last 5 to 7 days can be used nutritionally to make you look the best for that specific occasion or a photo shoot. Let's take a minute and acknowledge the fact that some of you may not be able to physically accomplish some of the stuff that we do in the workout, so please approach this carefully. We do not know your physical background or your capabilities. This program was actually written for one of our competitors, but I had to modify it slightly for a general public, so approach this with consideration for your own benefit. I will also discuss how last 5 or 7 days look like. You had to be modified slightly too, because the specific recommendations were given to that competitor had to be omitted due to the fact that we do not know your medical or a health background. So let's walk through the actual packet. You have links to watch your exercise videos. You have links to handouts that actually show how the exercises should be sequenced and how they should be recorded, what the workouts look like. Here I'm going to walk you through how to actually read the exercise program so you can perform well and actually achieve the benefit that they're meant to do. So let's open up a day 1, and you will see in the left hand column letter A1, A2, and A3. That means all first three exercises must be performed in sequence. And this is how you read all the programs that were sent to you. A1 means the exercise is going to be first, A2 is going to be second, A3 third. So A1, you have a prone incline dumbbell rear fly. You see in the blue column amount of sets. In this case, it's 3 sets. In the yellow column, you see recommended amount of repetitions. In this case, we have 20. In the green column, we have a 10 seconds rest before we move on to the exercise 2, which is seated lateral dumbbell raise. Once again, it must be 3 sets of 15 repetitions, 10 seconds rest, and you move on to exercise number 3, which is seated supported dumbbell press for 3 sets, 12 repetitions, and you rest up to 90 seconds. The only column that you may not be aware of or familiar with is this EPCP column. It is really a tempo column: eccentric, pause, concentric, pause. There's 4 phases to the movement. So please be aware that tempo really makes a great difference in the end of how the exercise is performed and how much work you're going to do and what kind of results we can expect. So in this case, you have 1 second to lower the weight. There's no pause at the bottom, 1 second to raise the weight, and 1 second to pause at the top. In exercise A2, you have 1 second to lower, no pause, 1 second to raise, and 1 second to hold once again. In exercise A3, 1 second to lower, 1 second to raise, 1 second to pause. As you can see on the right hand side, I entered a couple of comments that I would like you to keep in mind when you're training. In this case, after every single set, I suggested that you hold the dumbbells up for up to 12 to 15 seconds to increase the amount of work going through the muscles. So on day 1, you can see we start with the shoulder work, 3 exercises in a row, and then we're going to move on to B series, which is a bicep work or front of your arm work. Once again, it follows the same flow: B1, B2, B3. That means you'll do standing easy bar mid pronated or palms down curl, 3 seconds to lower the weight, 1 second to raise, 10 repetitions, rest just a little bit. Move on to exercise B2, 45-degree incline supinated dumbbell curl. 2 seconds to lower the weight, 1 second to raise, 1 second pause for 12 repetitions with a short rest period, and we're going to move on to exercise number 3, seated neutral dumbbell curl. 2 seconds to lower, 1 second to raise for 15 repetitions with a 90-second rest. All done for 3 sets. By the way, if you ever have any questions about what the exercise should look like, please refer to your video guide. After sequence B is completed, we're going to go to C sequence. 3 exercises for the tricep in this case. You start with a standing thick rope overhead extension, 3 seconds to lower the weight, 1 second to raise for 10 repetitions, 10-second rest. Flat easy bar tricep extension, 2 seconds to lower, 1 second to raise, 1 second to pause for 12, followed by 10-second rest. And once again, the last exercise is standing straight bar press down, 2 seconds to raise the weight technically or bend your arms, 1 second to press down for 15 repetitions, after which you rest up to 90 seconds. If you need to rest more, please use more time. If you can rest a little bit less, perhaps you'd consider raising the weight just a little bit. After that is done, we're going to move on into abdominal work. And here, please refer to the video guide of how to perform correctly inclined gyro hammer raise. 1 second to lower the weight, no pause, 1 second to raise, and 1 second pause is taken at the contraction at the top. 12 repetitions with 10-second rest. And you move on to Swiss ball offset dumbbell crunch. 12 repetitions, that would be 6 on each side of the shoulder for about 45 seconds of rest. And that really completes day one. If you've done it correctly, what you will see here at the top, that workout, if followed the tempos and prescribed rest periods, should take you no less than 43 minutes. If your workout is taking you 40 or less minutes, you're probably not adhering to a tempo or not completing all the reps and sets. If your workout is taking you in excess of 50 to 55 minutes, you're probably resting a little bit too much. I would consider cutting the rest periods a little bit and perhaps minimizing the conversation. Now, day two looks just like this. It's just on the day two, we're going to train lower body predominantly. The difference between day one and day two is that you're going to have 5 exercises in a row in the lower body sequence. We're going to start off with the trap bar jumps. Please see the video for what that looks like, but you can also do body weight jumps. You can do dumbbell jumps. You can figure out the substitutions if you do not have the equipment. 30 seconds of constant work. You try to get down to about 90-degree knee bend squat and jump as high as you can with a soft landing. You rest 10 seconds. Essentially, you move on to the next exercise, which is barbell Romanian deadlift. You can see 2 seconds to lower the weight, 1 second to raise the weight, 12 repetitions, 10 seconds of rest. Exercise number 3 is a walking lunge. Please use the dumbbells if you need to add a load to it. If you just bodyweight walking lunge is not enough, you move on after that to a leg press, 20 to 25 repetitions of constant speed work. And then you finish off with a backward sled drag. In our case, we have a facility that allows us push and pull prowlers and sleds. And that was 60 seconds of constant work, and then followed by 2 minutes of rest. If you need more rest, like I said before, please do so. If you need less rest, perhaps consider adding a little more load on some of the exercises. After that, we're going to move on into B sequence, where we have shoulder work once again. You have a seated dumbbell front raises, 15 repetitions at 1010 tempo. You have a TRX Y raise, 2011 tempo. 2 seconds to lower yourself, 1 second to raise and the pause, 12 repetitions with a 10-second rest. Then you move on to bent over reverse flies, something for your posterior shoulder, 15 repetitions at 2010, which means 2 seconds to lower the weight, 1 second to get it up, 10-second rest. And you move on to the last exercise, which is band resisted face pulls, 20 to 25 repetitions at the nice and steady 1010 tempo. Once you're done with that, you move on to C sequence, which essentially is just a tire and a hammer. You go to work on that tire for 30 seconds as hard as you can. You rest for 30 seconds, and you repeat it 5 times. Day 3 is essentially set up the same way as a day 1. It's just now we're going to go after torso. So A1, A2, A3 are exercises for your back. Supinated lat grip, lat pull down, 10 repetitions at the slow 3010 tempo. Bent over, straight bar pull over at 2011 tempo at 12 repetitions. And last exercise being seated neutral grip row at 1011 tempo, 15 repetitions with a rest of 90 seconds. B series is about the chest, 15-degree incline pronated dumbbell press, 10 repetitions, 3010 tempo. Decline dumbbell press, 1 1/4 bottom. I'll spend a couple of seconds on that. With a decline dumbbell press, The quarter, it comes from the very bottom position. So imagine lowering dumbbells all the way down as far as you can go, then coming up a quarter, coming back down that quarter, and coming back all the way up. That is considered 1 repetition. So you'll be doing 12 of those. And the last exercise is a horizontal pectoral fly, where you just lie down on your back on a horizontal bench using the dumbbells. Perform 15 repetitions of controlled pectoral flies. The C sequence is once again after the chest and the back work. So we're going to try to maximize hypertrophy gains in your torso in here. So high cable face pulls, 15 repetitions for 2010 tempo. Parallel push-ups. If you don't have a parallel, you can do floor push-ups. If you need to deload yourself, you can do incline push-ups on the bench or even on the wall, or you can do decline push-ups. You can use rings. Whatever you have available to you, please use that. 45 seconds of constant work. And here I would like you not to pause on the ground or rest. Try to continuously work for 45 seconds, if possible, of course. C3 is a band pull apart, where you're going to work for 25 to 30 repetitions, which fundamentally should take you about 50 to 60 seconds to complete, after which you rest 90 seconds and repeat for 3 sets of that. You're going to move on into D sequence, which is again abdominal conditioning. We have a tuck up with 12 repetitions on a 1 second lowering, no pause, 1 second raising, 1 second pause tempo. Moving on to kneeling high cable crunch. Once again, 15 repetitions, 1011 tempo. And that allows you to complete 3 sets with 45 second rest. And at the end, it gives you about 43 minutes of solid work, getting ready for the special day, photo shoot, or special occasion that you have to display toned and lean body. So essentially, this is a review of 3 days of training that were written for one of our specific competitors. We had to make some modifications for general public's purposes, but this person trained 3 days in a gym with weights. He was also performing 1 to 2 days of high intensity interval training that will last between 25 and 35 minutes, and then 1 to 2 days of long steady state cardiovascular conditioning that will last between 45 and 60 minutes. The heart rate would be staying steady between 130 and maybe 140 beats a minute, so nothing crazy taxing, but high intensity interval training sessions were pretty harsh because we have a lot of strongman equipment here, or using something like an assault bike is not a pretty sight. So keep that in mind when you're approaching your own transformation, that 3 days of lifting is great, but I would recommend wholeheartedly to add general cardiovascular conditioning for 1 or 2 times a week, and then specific high-intensity interval training for another 1 to 2 times a week. Now, looking at the program, you can call this a Monday, you can call this Tuesday, you can call this a Wednesday. You could train even a 4th time in a row using one of those days. However, 3 days should be sufficient stimulus to achieve what you really want to kind of achieve within a month. Keep in mind that this is the last program of the 12-week transformation package. So this particular person had at least 2 phases of training that came before this phase. That means the person trained at least 8 weeks before this phase started, and they had another week after this, which was the final week of the preparation. So let's have a look at the final week of preparation, and we'll kind of discuss a little bit what you can do nutritionally, what you can do exercise-wise to make yourself look the best. Okay, so final week. Let's consider that you might be taking a picture or being in a position to display your new body on Saturday. We're going to work 5 days out from that, which means your 5 days out is Monday to begin with. I would recommend from Monday on, you cut down your carbohydrate intake to 50 grams or potentially even less a day. And that depends obviously on your specific circumstances. So please take that with a grain of salt. On Monday, you're going to bump up your water intake to at least 2 to 2.5 gallons a day. For females, perhaps for smaller males, 2 gallons might be fine. For average person, 2.5, and for large individuals, 3 to 3.5 gallons a day. That is a large amount of water. I would recommend you buy yourself a 1 gallon jug, and then this is how you can measure and track your water consumption. If you consume 2 of those, obviously you have 2 gallons. If you consume 3, you are 3. So 2 to even 3 gallons of water a day for the next 4 days. You drop your carbohydrate intake to about 50 grams or less, which means it's protein and vegetables for you for the next 4-day time frame. Then 4 days out, or Tuesday is the same. 3 days out, or Wednesday is the same. 2 days out, Thursday is the same. And on Friday, everything changes. On Friday, you're going to eat 5 to 6 meals, and every one of them will contain a bunch of carbohydrates. I would recommend you start off with probably fruit on the first couple of meals, and anything between 50 and 75 grams of carbohydrates per meal. Try to limit your fat intake on that day, and don't worry about eating huge amounts of protein with every single meal. Eat as much as you need to, but your primary purpose of eating on Friday is actually carbohydrates now. So after the first 2 meals where you ate between 50 and 75 grams of carbohydrates in fruit, you're going to move on to more starchier carbohydrates, rice, potatoes, yams, pretty much whatever contains starch. And the last meal, or fourth meal for that matter, should be about 3 to 4 p.m., after which you're going to drastically, and I probably mean totally, unless you need to take some sort of tablets or supplements, you're going to cut down the water intake until your photo shoot. I'm assuming that your photo shoot might be around midday. Perhaps it's a wedding, perhaps it's a photo shoot around midday, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So at about 3 to 4 p.m. on Friday, we're going to cut your water intake completely. 1 or 2 meals should be consumed after that, and those meals can really be pretty much the most indulgent meals you've had in a long time. You could have yourself chocolate, you can have your waffles. I would recommend wholeheartedly gluten-free waffles with syrup, pie filling. You can have pancakes. You can have pretty much anything if you feel that you're lean and in the great shape already. If, however, you don't feel like that, perhaps just have one of those meals, not 2. That might be, the ticket to kind of look the best the next day. Along with that, 1 or 2 meals. If you do 2 meals, do it with the last one. If you do 1 meal, do it with that 5th meal. Buy yourself a small bottle of vegetable glycerine and consume 1 to 2 tablespoons of vegetable glycerine. You may even consider have a glass of red wine the night before. Why? Well, we all know alcohol is dehydrating. At the same time, it's also probably will allow you to mellow down a little bit. You've been dieting for a while. You've been preparing. This is the last night. You certainly should get a good night's sleep. Wine might just help. If you can tolerate red wine, please feel free to have a glass. Now let's move on to the last or photo day. If you wake up in the morning and you look great, have some fruit, have some protein, and get ready for your photo shoot. If you look a little bit flat and you want the muscles to look bigger, then maybe you have another simple sugar meal. If, however, you're looking like you're retaining still some water, then protein only, which normally means protein shake with very little water. And then before your photo shoot, perhaps consider taking about 30 to 45 minutes before the photo shoot, consider taking 2 tablespoons of glycerine in with about half to a full can of full sugar soda, something like Coca-Cola. It works just fine. Now, let me go through a quick explanation of what and why we're doing this. So first 4 days of this week, you cut down a carbohydrate intake to absolute minimum, which means your glycogen is going to get depleted very heavily. You're also training very hard, and we'll discuss the training in just a second. During that training, you deplete the glycogen, which means the glycogen will want to supercompensate on Friday when we eat all the carbohydrates you can handle in a day. At the same time, we're increasing the water intake quite drastically, which puts your body into flushing mode. And when we cut down the water drastically on Friday, water will have to be reabsorbed from somewhere to help body function, which means the water is going to come from the skin. So I'm going to make you look leaner and bigger because of the glycogen reload. Consider that gram of glycogen takes on about 3 grams of water, and that what makes your muscles look that much bigger, that much leaner when you reload the carbohydrates from Friday morning onwards. Glycerin also isn't a plasma expander, means that it pulls the water into plasma, which enhances the way you look. Now, last week of training is slightly different than the week of training we looked in here. I'd like you to move on to something slightly different. There you go. That's my picture for the first Stark Naked. Actually, let's move on to the workouts for the last week. So starting 5 days out, you will be doing the same workout for the next 4 days. I would like you to reduce the leg training to absolute minimum on the day before the photo shoot. You don't need to train the legs anymore. So the first 3 days you will do leg training. On Thursday you will not do leg training. On Thursday you will do a little bit of high intensity interval training. On Friday you do just a little bit of a training for muscle groups that you want enhanced. And on Saturday you get ready for a pre-shoot pump up. So let's look at these exercises. Here they are. All we want to do is about 3 sets of 12 to 15 or 15 to 20 repetitions. I'd probably even go as low as 12 to 15 if your work capacity is a little bit lower, you're not used to that much work. At 2-0-1-0 tempo, which means it's fairly slow lowering of the weights, fairly fast raising. All you do is 12 to 15 repetitions, you'll be great. Rest 45 seconds between those 3 sets, move on to the next exercise. Feel the muscle burn, move on to the next one. 3 exercises for the lower body, as you can see, A, B, and C. 3 exercises for the back, 3 exercises for the chest, 2 exercises for the biceps, 2 exercises for the tricep, 2 exercises for the shoulders, and 2 exercises for abdominals. Basically, we cover the whole body. We're going to exhaust it for 3 or 4 days, and then we're going to refeed it, make you look spectacular. The last thing to cover is really the day of, and actually about 30 to 40 minutes before taking the picture. If you do want to take a physique picture, you're probably going to have to pump up just a little bit those muscle groups that look the best in the photograph. And that isn't legs, that really isn't the back, it's normally chest, shoulders, and some arm pump. Please don't spend too much time on the arms. Get a nice little pump going and then spend most of your time on shoulders and the chest, because it's hard to overdo those muscle groups. And that's really about it. If I could give you a word of advice, is try to use those 4 weeks of training we supplied to you with the biggest effort that you can muster. Try to utilize the simple recommendations for the last 5 days before the photo shoot. Try to enjoy your experience of the last day before the photo shoot, where you get to eat all the carbohydrates you haven't eaten in a long time. Try to enjoy the day of photography or a big event. You can always do better next year or next time. You'll have an opportunity more than likely. If you can control some variables like a temperature of the room where you're taking the photos, that would be awesome, because normal ambient temperature will allow you to stay looking better for longer. So in the end, I want to just thank you for your attention. Thank you for reviewing the packet we sent you. Thank you for trying these workouts. Thank you for watching the videos. If you do have any questions about our program or any other service that we run here at Stark in Irvine, please don't hesitate to contact us. I would love to hear from you about your successes. I would love to see some pictures. Please send those to us. We'll want to celebrate with you. But overall, I thank you for your time. Good luck with everything. And please participate in the Stark Naked Challenge 2016. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.